Hey, guys. It's your 2 p.m. Eastern Time wonderful show right here on Stocktwits across X, YouTube. We're everywhere. Hi. Welcome into the Community Rip. This is your boy Bags or Ben. We've got, as always, GPAISA. Gautam, good to see you. You look a little metallic on my screen, but we'll get into that later. And just fucking do it, Nick. JFDI is here sporting the Stocktwits hoodie. And we got our good friend who we met in Coronado at Stocktoberfest, LexTrading. Lex, it's so great for you to join us. Thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely. Can't wait.
Well, I can't wait to get into the UNH Tesla debate we're going to have in a little while. It's going to be a continuation from last month's Stocktoberfest. But guys, as we always do, let me pull up the chart. Let's get right into it. We've got the Qs kind of flattish. So, hey Nick, what do you see on this chart? Oh, I got something else up. I got to hide that. There we go. There's the Qs. Nick, we had a show yesterday. We did live, and I don't know. What are you seeing that's different? Anything positive, negative? What's your take?
I was thinking about after we got off the show yesterday. I thought, like the simple answer is really that the trend is up and it continues to be a stock pickers market, and you got to pick your spots. The traders that are trying to get cute, catch every tick, are probably over trading, probably getting chopped up and chopped out of positions. So I certainly don't think that it's an easy dollar, easy penny environment. But again, like if you're looking at the days as kind of backfill, it's still working. I don't know if I'm quite as as it kind of felt like we were, it felt almost as if it was kind of a repeat of last week where, we were kind of down and out a little bit on Tuesday, and then all of a sudden Wednesday came and we were ramping. It was like, fucking, let's go. And it kind of, I struggle with Monday. The reason I think that is because if you're looking at a weekly candle, getting a big gap up Monday I think it makes it tricky, and it makes it a little difficult to trade. I'd rather see, especially in an uptrending market, I'd rather see like down opens on Monday. That gives us the chance for like the turnaround Tuesday and kind of a chop Wednesday, Thursday into like a strong close Friday. But I think, I don't know. That's just kind of how I'm looking at it. I'm still obviously wildly long, but I've allowed trail stops to get hit, and that's just kind of how I'm sitting and kind of approaching it.
Wildly long.
I do love the gold. I mean, I don't know if we were going to transition into gold, but like I do love the gold trade. I love it on almost every time frame. I think the weekly more than anything. If you look, actually, let me back up real quick. Prior to the show, Lex was asking me about the charts behind me. And on the upper right screen, it's pretty much either focus names or leaders, aka the mag, up there. And coming into the end of last week, we saw a second consecutive week with a tight close on a lot of them. And I think that being the case, led me to believing that this week was going to be another push week. And I don't know if it's like the hope creeping in, but you guys know me. I love the 3-week tight. It's a sloppy flag. And so I thought if we could get another tight week in mag, like let's say Google, Apple, Microsoft obviously didn't get it, but if Microsoft could hold here, kind of same thing with Amazon. I mean, obviously we would have to kind of sit here where we're at through the end of the week, which, we got another 2 days, but I just thought if we got a second consecutive week, it might lead to a third. And if that was the case, I mean, I think mag continues to look fantastic. So, which kind of, again, then to kind of fast forward real quick, leading into gold put in a 3-week tight on the rising 10-week. And I know there was a lot of bearishness calling for the gold top, which I don't necessarily agree with. I think it's going to continue to run, but anyways, that's kind of where I'm sitting and how I'm kind of approaching the market. I think that if it's going to be very difficult, sorry to keep ranting, but I think it's going to be very difficult for when the charts and price starts to melt and trend, it doesn't provide a lot of clean entries, especially if you don't get price pulling back to where price broke out from. Like, you're having to get involved within the trend, and that being the case, like, if you're trying to buy a breakout, it's not going to work. You're going to have to buy it on the backfill. So if you're in this like camp that we're getting ready to roll, it's going to be very difficult to get involved in the backfill or on a pullback because you think that we're going to continue, which in both directions, I shouldn't say that. I mean, you've seen kind of growth and like the real popular FinTwit names get kind of obliterated, but
hey Lex,
yeah.
where are you sitting overall as a whole on the market? I know where we were about a month ago when we last saw each other in person, but where are you at overall?
Can I actually share my screen?
Yeah, hang on. Let me let you share your screen.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay. Can you guys see what I'm looking at? This cheddar flow here.
Not yet.
I'm looking at all the flow tickers here on QQQ. Can you see this?
You got to hit the share screen option if you have it.
Hit share screen.
He's looking at the cheddar flow.
So this is just the order flow that comes through, and this is what's coming through this morning for at least the Qs. So I'm looking at a lot of these December 12s, right? The 640 calls, and you can see that there are millions in premiums coming in, since the morning. So they're out of the money. Some of them are even coming in above ask. Whoever, and you look at the open interest, it was very, very low. But this morning, we just got a ton of volume here, all the way up to the 640. So I think we could, and then if you look at the daily chart, there's also a gap at 630. So potentially I can see a move where, we run up to fill that gap, at least on the short term, because these options expire on December 12th. So it's very
a month out. So you're bullish, at least.
Yeah, I think
intermediate short term.
I think if someone's trying to catch these tickers on the short term, at least the order flow is telling you that someone's buying up a lot of these out of money calls in the short term, looking for a move up, because the expiration is so short. It has to go up, otherwise they expire worthless. And they're buying, I don't know. Let's see here: 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, but over 10 million today on these short-term out-of-money calls on the Qs. So I could potentially see, so there's a bullish hammer candle, 3 days back. There's a huge pickup at the 50 moving average. So I can see that, we move up, try to retest all-time highs before, it decides on its next move. So at least, in the short term, I think we can still move higher.
Yeah, no, I this is what we talked about yesterday on the show. GP, I think this is the longest in this show's history that we have kept you quiet. Please tell us if you are having any change of heart from our bear discussion yesterday.
I still think it makes sense to be cautious. I take flow with a grain of salt always. You can see Tesla had $50 million in December 5th calls, and it's been straight down since. Flow is really dependent on so many different things that I still think it warrants caution ultimately. If you see yesterday, Apple became the safety trade, and as soon as the NQs opened again today, bright green, was red. Apple closed at all-time highs, by the way, yesterday. So I still think there's caution to be warranted crypto can't find a buyer.
Yeah.
And gold and silver continue to lead the market. Dude,
let's just do it. Let's just talk about it. Go for it. There you go. There's your baby. There's your baby.
No, it's not. Like, listen. So, Nick, the 3 weeks tight in the silver chart was so much tighter off the 9-week moving average, the rising 9-week moving average.
Yeah, totally.
It was back-to-back hammers and followed through. We're about to potentially take out all-time highs this week here again. And the top that everyone was talking about, which was an awesome top to be a part of, wasn't really a top because volume didn't exceed itself over the weekly, right? You can see the reversal was on less volume, and then any follow through is declining volume to that. So you have that 3-week tight technical setup into a rising moving average for the first time in that parabola. It just looks really good. So I think you have to have caution because so many things aren't participating, and it's a rotation between different names, like you said, stock picking. AMD's today, yesterday was that, this is that, like it just keeps going through. But there's an inherent lack of buying in the markets, but also like the markets that matter, right? Like we're seeing today XLF and regional banks are strong. That's really good for small businesses. They are not front running anything in this market, so to speak. The RTY has been weak. It can't get over it got over finally today, the 2024 highs, and immediately sold off straight down. I think it's positioning. I think there's a lot of shorts in it. And so they're holding it back until they have to let things go. So if small caps start to behave better and participate, I would like to see that happen more. I'll turn a bit more bullish. But right now, if you've been weak, you've stayed weak for weeks on end. Look at MicroStrategy. Look at BMNR. Look at SBET. Look at HIMS.
Yeah, that's a lot of the crypto trade, though. Yeah. GP. Like, I mean, I hear you.
At RSP, right? The eco weight index for that S&P 500. It's been topped out since August, even though SPY keeps moving up, and that's because the Mag 7s are just driving all the gains here. The rest of the market is not rallying. It's not going up with it.
Lex, are you a little more cautious?
Yeah, in the longer term, yeah. That order flow is just, it could be like days, weeks. It's a very short-term trade. But in the longer term, I wouldn't be buying this, SPY or the Qs up here. It's, we're way too up high.
Where would you be buying the Qs?
So,
where would I buy the Qs?
I guess I'll preface that by saying I thought that if we failed here, we could be potentially putting in a ABCD leg down, where your B point is that Friday low in the Qs, but it would be putting the measured move, the D point, basically back at 585, a retest of kind of that massive sell-off bar and that kind of range. So I guess to kind of answer what I'm asking is, or maybe just give my opinion first, is I kind of thought like the 575, 585 zone would be a phenomenal buy spot if we got it.
About the Qs.
The Qs, yeah.
585 is a bit deep, but right now the 50 moving average seems to be holding up. The last couple of dips in September.
That's roughly down here, Nick. Right? Like
yeah.
So you're looking at 600, I would say, between I guess 580, 600. You see some support there. But the rest of the market is not going up with it, and I don't know. And I think the semis and the big techs I don't know how much higher it can go.
Well, I think that's the eternal question, right? Is how much higher can any of this go? And we have a long history of everything that's in the S&P going up and to the right, right? Like that's the way the markets are designed to behave. My thesis is still what I said yesterday, right? Like this is, to me, this is strength, right? You get a good bounce where you're supposed to. You're holding the level where you're supposed to right now. So could that develop into an ABC, Nick? I think that's possible, but that wouldn't be my base case right now. You got to wait for confirmation to be able to kind of pull that out of the hat, but it's a possibility for sure. GP, I have a feeling you're going to take another side of that. Yeah,
it's an inverse head and shoulders, right, on that chart if you're looking at it
potentially
off the 50 SMA. So I still think there's a bullish potential outcome from this. But one of the things that I think a lot of traders and people who invest in markets always don't want to buy the top, but it tends to be one of the best places to buy. Strength begets strength, and it continues to go higher, right, over time. So I understand that you think it might be oversold. We are up, overbought. We are up, what, 20% on the Qs this year? And people will tell you that we're up 45% because it's from the April lows. Tell me how many people were buying on the April lows outside of this show.
21% year to date.
Yeah. 21% year to date, right? So, like, it's the same fallacy, same bullshit that people talk about. The bull market started in 2009. It did not start in 2009. Bull markets start when previous highs get reclaimed. This is literally the normal technical conversation, right? So, would I love a flush? Absolutely. So we can get away from this grinding type market and we can actually have real moves and have better participants. But strength has always, look at SanDisk, right? As an example. Can you bring up SanDisk on that? SNDK?
So let me just finish this thought here for the Qs. Yeah. I mean, this is my long-term chart for the Qs. You see the red line is the major resistance. And, it has marked the top, since 2008, except except up here, we kind of it was a blowout at the top, after the pandemic. But, it's still not breaking through this major resistance. So you ask me, where would I buy the Qs again? I would look at the weekly 50 moving average. It kind of held throughout this whole run here. So if it drops down here to maybe 530, 540, then I might be a buyer in the long term. But, we're just hanging out here at the major resistance. I wouldn't be a long term. I wouldn't add to my position here.
No, you're just riding. Yeah, I feel you there.
Yeah. Go ahead. You can look at SanDisk.
SanDisk.
I'm on it. I'll be right there. I'm coming. I'm headed that way. SNDK. We got to get into some other stuff. This has been oh wow. Look at SanDisk. Flash.
You could have, yeah, and you can look at WDC, all these stuff. This is what I'm talking about when strength begets strength. How many times have people sold and said, "Shit, can I have my shares back?" It is only a 6x from April or August, actually. I just mean I get the concept, but I think finding right points in time where you can dollar cost average makes more sense, especially if you're looking for a pullback, because you may not get it ultimately, and then you're not participating.
Bingo. You may not get it. Markets are designed to go higher. I'm not saying what anyone should do with their own investments. I'm just saying when we look back 5 years, 10 years from now, you'll be like, gosh, remember when I was freaking out in November and the Qs were in 620 and now it's 1800? You guys know me well enough. I look at things from a very long time frame. I'm not trading in and out. And these little wobbles, they're to be expected, and they're buying opportunities. And I mean, we had one, I think, that presented itself on Friday, but time will tell. We have to get into something way more important. We had a long, well, I shouldn't say Lex and GP had a long conversation about our favorite hated name, and you guys know I love a hated name. United Healthcare, UNH. Just to preface everything, Lex has taken this to the long side, and it has been a very good trade from near the bottom. GP still got his. I'm waiting for 222.07 down here, which may never come, which, that's a nice segue, huh? It may never come. But
did you close your puts? Do you?
Yeah, I closed on Friday. I closed more than half for about 300%. So not too bad.
That's an awesome trade. That was great.
Yeah. So not
Lex,
too bad.
you're still in UNH. This is a long-term hold for you. This is a portfolio foundation for you. I don't think we need to go into all the whys. Anyone who's paying attention to the market understands UNH. But what do you currently like about the trade? Are you still looking to add on any weakness? Have you added any? And what do you think's the next move from here on United Healthcare?
Well, so I have some fib lines drawn on my chart.
Here, go share them, brother. You can share your screen.
Let me grab the screen again.
This is the community rip. We're all about empowering everyone.
All right. So we have this 60-70% move from 230. I bought in somewhere around here at 250. Rode it all the way up near the 388, and I haven't sold. I'm still holding. So after a 70% move, you can expect a pullback, right? So so we got this pullback. It's not too deep. It's only coming down to the 0.82 fib line, and then it just consolidated here a little bit, and it just bounced. So if this holds, we can potentially see another move up back to 388. So 388 is the other major pivot up here, and it will get pretty close to the previous top that we just put in. So I like this. I think if this holds, this would be an area to add, and that we might soon see a retest going back up to this pivot here at 388. So I still like it. I haven't sold. I'm still in the trade. Commons only.
Commons only. To go back to this precipitous downfall that we've had in this chart, GP and I were asked somewhere in May, do we want to trade or buy UNH? And we were like, nah. And then we were asked back in July, do you want to be involved with UNH? And we were like, nah. And the reasons were simple, right? It's not that a long-term outlook wasn't there and anything can trade. It's just not something I have a high conviction in, just as a whole. But GP was very technical, and GP, you still hold that same belief on the technicals of UNH and it's going lower.
If history proves itself quite often, you'll see it in. There's a lot of points where people get really bullish again off a technical bottom. These things have to base. They just have to base. Stage one bases are a miserable journey for. So the thesis back in May and July continued to remain. It's going to be range bound within this basing pattern for a year, if not longer. And I don't like stage one bases. Nick, I think you're probably in the same conversation. They suck the soul out of your life, right? They tend to go to the top, go to the bottom. You could see it in Wayfair. You could see it in so many different names across the board that I don't have a desire to own this as shares. I rather buy strength always instead of watching stuff annoy the shit out of me. It's just the capital cost, right? That allocating this kind of money, it was $250. You buy 100 shares, it's 25 grand. But 25 grand allocated elsewhere in that time, you could have bought SanDisk versus UNH, and you're up 50-60% on UNH, but you're up 600% on SanDisk or Western Digital or whatever at that time frame. So the opportunity cost of this of this stuff. As you know, my I don't have a threshold for that in a stock that I think is a great stock. It's beaten up technically and needs to come and build a base now. It was down, what, 80% at some point, or 60, 70%, 78% from the highs, right? 61%?
62 and a half, almost 63%.
Yeah. So it continues to be technical. If it shows that it technically doesn't want to go down anymore, then I'm game. I will trade anything and everything if I feel like I need to, but I still don't want to own any shares in this company until it forms a base.
Nick, you were saying before we went live that you kind of like it here.
Yeah, I for a trade. Let me see if I can share my screen. It was kind of
I bet you can.
Let's see.
Woohoo!
Yeah, here we go. So, I'm looking at the A point in this like kind of potential setup as the spring underneath this pivot low, and you kind of have this range built out here. You know, it popped, flagged to the point. I guess to back up real quick and talk about stage one bases. The reason it's like to GP's point, it's a dead money conversation. If it's a name that you have like conviction in and you're looking to like accumulate, you can use kind of like little things to kind of give you a clue or an inkling that it might break out, but ultimately you don't really know until it does. So in just looking at, like, I'm not saying this is a stage one base. I'm just kind of comparing a base to a base where price kind of gapped up. It held in this pretty tight range. And I think that gave you a clue that it was ready to kind of pop out of here. So in measuring this out, I kind of started my A point down here. I've got a B point here. You had this pullback from the declining 200-day back to the highs of this range, which essentially is kind of where it broke out. So I thought this could potentially be the C point. And if this low does indeed hold, in this particular setup, I'm not looking to time the C point. In other trades, I might try to do that, not in this one in particular. So what I was thinking was that if I'm going to use this as a B point and you've got the decline in 200-day here, God, it would look fucking unreal to see price gap the 200-day and just kind of run. If you're going to layer if-thens and kind of use this as a way to build out a longer-term trade, the measured move on this ABCD leg up puts it at right up here around 450, 460. Now, if it gets up to 450, 460, it's reclaiming the lows of this massive range that it kind of, this high base, high range that it had up here. If it reclaims the low of this range, I would be in the camp that it's going topside and going to go back and test the highs.
Yeah.
Now, whether or not it breaks out to all-time highs, you know, again, you're just kind of you'd likely be kind of layering if-thens and probably peeling some off, either as it pushes into highs or once this ABCD leg completes, you'd likely be taking a shit ton off, at least probably 60%, I would say, because
that is where I'm looking at the trend too, Nick. Like around 450, that's where the next pivot is. And just outside of technicals, you look at what Congress is doing, what the big funds are doing. They're still buying up UNH. Congress is still buying up UNH.
Sure. Yeah.
So I got a question for Lex. Was your first and only buy 250, or did you buy the second gap down and then ate pain for a long time, and then
yeah. So my first buy was I think back in like May when it dropped to 388. That's where the other pivot was. So I bought some at 388, and then it went down to the 250s, 290, 280 first. Bought some more, and then went down to 250. I just added a ton. That was like a load the boat, scenario for me.
Back up the truck.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, that makes sense. But that's the pain I'm talking about, right? That's the like
the way I look at
buying the falling knife is
Yeah.
like no. I get the three parts. I did it in AMD as well. I totally on board with that conversation. But I think that's what I'm talking about in terms of pain, is that when things don't die and don't break down from all-time highs, they continue to break down after breaking lows, right? It's the same conversation of strength the other way. But that I remember going through the UNH forum on Stocktwits in like June and July, and good Lord, people were fucking miserable. It's gonna go. No, it kept going down. It's like, that's the journey that, like, the reason why I talk about this stuff, why I'm bringing it up, is that there's an insane amount of mental capital draw that happens when these types of scenarios happen. Most people aren't sophisticated enough to spread it out into multiple buys. The first buy is when they blow their load, so to speak, at 380, and then when the 280 level comes, or the 250 level comes, they're like selling this and selling that. This is just human psychology, right? They're selling this and selling that. Oh, it's like, well, my Apple's up 3%, so I'm going to sell that. I'm going to buy some more UNH. So that's the conversation around all this stuff. This is not personal to you, Lex, at all. But I think it's just human psychology that most people don't have a plan when it comes to buying these dips, that you have to have the cash hoards to make sure that you have enough to buy.
And we talk about not just the cash, right? Like you're alluding to it, the mental capital that it takes to be in a trade, regardless of, especially high conviction trades. You buy 380 and it continues down to 240, right? Like Lex, you said it yourself, you had to pour a ton of capital into it, whether that took mental and actual liquid cash capital. It takes a lot to have that intestinal fortitude to say, this is my line in the sand, I'm going big here. And not everybody's built for that.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the chart. I mean, this is the biggest insurer in America that's dropping to near pandemic levels, and revenue is still growing double digits. You know, you're not running away from UNH. There's nowhere else to go, right? You know, they're the biggest.
I mean, I think we can say it was pandemic levels.
Yeah, you're near pandemic levels, and if you actually look at the volume profile, you're at 250. You are at the highest volume shelf, right? That should be a big indicator that, you know, it was going to bottom here, or there's going to be some pickup. You know, even if you were a short-term position trader. So,
I have a question for you now. Then you've bought in 3 different lots, and you went balls to the wall on that 250 area. Now, what happens if we come back to 188? The actual pandemic lows. The actual pandemic lows, where almost everything. I'm not saying UNH will or will not, but almost everything on the planet has come back and tested the
pandemic level.
Pandemic levels. I really have to look at the reason why. Remember, I buy businesses for their moats. You know, I like to buy monopolies. That's what I do. I'm playing Monopoly here, and they virtually have a monopoly in the healthcare space. They own the insurance. They own the BPMs. They own the pharmacies. They own the physicians group, the service providers. There's nowhere else for you to go. So, you know, for
that I understand, but the question was, where do you find the capital, right? That's the question, is like, this question we had at dinner at Stocktoberfest. I mean, and you answered it pretty simply. You'll buy more, but the question is, at what cost, right? Like, what are you selling at a loss? Where are you getting the capital from? Most of us don't have infinite money glitches sitting in our bank account. So,
I mean, for you,
if you've deployed most of your capital at 250 or 230 or whatever it is, where does the extra capital come from for things like that? Or are you allocated for that in the future?
No, for UNH, there's already a full position in my portfolio. I'm not adding more, you know, if it drops, you know, below that. So, you know, and I'm not just going to keep buying if it just keeps selling, right? I'm out of full position. I need to stay diversified because I need to stay in the game. If I just keep throwing money in the fire, it's going to keep burning. So
you're going to be a one stock holder, right? Like you'll eventually have to sell other things to buy more of that.
Yeah, and I'm not going to do that. And I have a full position in UNH. Evelyn's Health is the other one. That's the number 2 major health insurer. You know, they went down to 280. I bought a ton there, and it's gone up since.
So do you have stops? One more question, and then and then we can move on. Do you have stops at where your entry is?
No stops. No stop loss.
All gas, no brake.
No brakes.
That's confidence. So this goes back to the whole conversation that we've had over the past few months, just about this stock in general, because GPs have been getting chirped at nonstop online about the take that we've had on UNH. He loves that. He encourages it. So please keep, every time you tag UNH, tag GP. He loves that. But this comes back to the point that we always say on this show. Anything can trade, right? And I know Lex isn't looking at this simply as a trade, but anything can trade. GP's thesis hasn't been invalidated or isn't incorrect yet, but so far Lex has put money where his mouth is, and he's in a winning trade. So that's what we want to do on this show. We deliver alpha, right? At the end of the day, we want to give people our best probabilities that we see out there. And just based off our conversation then, I thought it was good to have you both sort of recreate that a bit here. We're going to move on. I know how much we love UNH, but we're going to move on. I was going to bring up Tesla, but I'm kind of squirrely on HIMS too. Nick, do you have a preference, Tesla or HIMS?
I mean, I'd rather talk about Tesla.
Tesla it is.
I mean, it's not really a long conversation. I just think that, you know, again, price is in a range right now.
Do you guys
if you're
see
looking
an
at the
island
if
reversal
you're
happening here?
What's that?
An island reversal happening here?
Could I see it? Oh,
He's
could I see
talking
that
about this
happening?
right here, right?
Yeah, I mean
What's your
that's definitely a possibility. Yeah, totally. I'm not in that camp yet. Yeah, I'm not in that camp at the moment. I'm looking I'm looking at it as an ascending triangle where we're kind of continually putting in higher lows, kind of off the lower trend line, beginning September on the gap up September 15th. It looks kind of a lot like Microsoft to me in a more condensed, shorter time period where you kind of have almost double toppy high peaks, which, yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of how I'm looking at Tesla at the moment. It's in a range. I do see your island. I can see that as working out as a possibility.
How are you looking at it, Lex? That's what we want to know. We know how the three of us are looking at it. How are you looking at Tesla?
Yeah, I'm looking at it more on the bearish side that, you know, we might have an island reversal play out.
It's a strong possibility.
That'd put price back at like the 200-day, like 340, 350.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see that. I mean, that's probably a name. Tesla's definitely a name where I'd be looking to. I wouldn't mind trying to catch the falling knife there versus the 200-day. I think your risk reward there is pretty easily definable. Yeah, I don't know. I love Tesla.
GP, I have a feeling that's not your take.
No, it's Tesla, right? So it will give you a 50% drawdown and still be bullish as fuck because it's Tesla. But
that's why you wouldn't short it. Like I wouldn't short that.
Yeah. So like I can see the island reversal you're talking about. 100%, it's a possibility because it is Tesla and it is Elon. Elon gets into another Twitter fight with Donald Trump. Anything can happen. But the way I look at this is you have a line in the sand. It's 414.50. It is the prior all-time highs from 2021. You had back-to-back months that closed above it, which you couldn't do in December and January. So you're generally bullish on the monthly time frame. And this month we've already taken out prior month's highs. So you've already peaked above and looked. So yeah, it's a possibility that the island top exists. But when you have when you have peaks above, that means there's interest above that level. And even this, like we got above the deliveries level just a couple days ago, right? And we're stuck in a range. We're not going anywhere.
Yep.
Can it break down from here? Yeah, the longer it stays in a range, the more likely it is. But as long as 414 is holding on a closing basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis is where I'm starting. It's still just consolidating, right? It's absorbing all of this stuff that's going, and the shareholder meeting gave enough evidence to people who are selling covered calls and keeping it range bound to do more of that, because Elon said, even the Roadster reveal, which on Joe Rogan 3 days before that, he said it happened at the end of the year. He's like, oh, it's going to happen on April 1st, right? So he keeps pushing he's not only the problem, but also the solution, right? The client and the player president, Biggie's famous lines. But yeah, I can see the island reversal. I just don't think that it's a real possibility until 414 breaks.
I agree. That was basically my take yesterday, right? I would even give it some grace. You know, I think 414 is a good level, but I would even give it some grace to 410 if that's the way I wanted to trade it. I go back to the weekly chart. GP, I know you always start with the monthly chart, but I go back to the weekly chart. I see this being completely different than this, right? This is a consolidation in here. It does not look distributive yet. That doesn't mean it couldn't be. So you guys know I don't particularly like Tesla. I have a long position Tesla, but I still see it bullish in the short term. Can I be wrong? Sure. I'm wrong all the time, and I accept that with 100% of all of me. So we'll see.
You can argue that it's inverse head and shoulders, a cup and handle versus last year highs, all of that stuff that's happening here. You can also argue that it's got a lot more bullish volume on this cycle than it did on the breakout cycle last year. Right?
Yep.
So
Yep. I concur. To my own chagrin and betterment of my portfolio, I concur.
And then if you add in what Rivian is doing right now.
You want to talk about Rivian? We'll talk about Rivian. I would love to talk about Rivian. Thanks for asking, GP. Here's the chart that has been on everyone's screen that I've posted for, I don't know, seems like ages. There you go.
But this is your stage one base, right? This is the life-sucking, soul-sucking,
succubus of a fucking chart. Yep.
But when the stage one base breaks, it's
a rocket ship to the moon.
It's a sand disk type move, right?
To Mars, to Vesuvius, wherever in the hell you want to go into outer space. That's what happens when you have parabolas. Parabolas is what happens in a stage one base. All right.
Yeah.
And I'm going to shout myself out because nobody else on this show shouts me out enough. So I'll do it myself. Look at how precise that is right there. And yeah, my channels are my channels. But when I've got something down, brother, I've got it down. And there's some expected resistance right there. This is going to faff around, in my estimation. This is going to faff around right here around this 17, almost 18 level. And hopefully it resolves through it to move up into the upper part of the channel. But this isn't just some arbitrary line that's part of the channel that's drawn in there. It's truly resistance. Look, you've got resistance. You've got resistance. You've got some support for a fall through. You've got resistance. You've got resistance. Why would anyone expect anything else to be right there but fucking resistance? So that's my Rivian chart. I was bullish. I told everybody to back the truck up at 12. I said, give me 12 or 17 about a month and a half ago. We got 12. I don't know if you bought. If you did, congratulations. If you didn't, I hope you've caught another bus ticket somewhere else and you're halfway to Chicago by now. So there's the Rivian chart. And GP, I agree with you. I think what's happening in Rivian is also going to be a tale for what's going to happen in Tesla. It may not have the same immediate breakage as Rivian might from this stage 1 base, but I think they will go together.
Yeah, the sectors tend to, right? Like there's only 2 leaders in the market, in that market, and there's only it's Rivian and Tesla, right? The EV market. But you can look at the other car makers too. They're all doing pretty well. Look at GM, look at Ford, right? The sectors in general are doing well. So it's as I said, it's Tesla.
GM's in all-time highs.
Yeah.
I think
that's my
that
whole point, right?
Yeah,
I think Ford is going to stop making their electric.
They are. Yep.
The Lightning. Yeah.
Ben,
Joey wants to know how much.
I can't tell Joey that. I saw his chat. I can't tell Joey how much and what to buy. That's a personal decision. This is not financial advice. This is just what I do with my own money and how I manage my portfolio. My returns, doesn't mean it's going to be your returns and vice versa. But if he had paid attention to my chart, he might have bought more than a little bit at $12. But I don't guess he did. Anyway, Lex, I know you got to hop, and I appreciate you jumping on. It was so great to see you. It's so great to talk UNH and some market. I did want to bring up one thing before you bolt. We did talk about Google, and Nick brought up Google. I know you're long Google, and the last time we brought up Google, you was like, I don't think I would buy it here. Turned out it was a pretty good buy. So I'm gonna stick that one in. I'm gonna stick that knife in you as you walk out the door. Google was a good buy at $230 or $220, whatever that range was.
It is still flagging, but if you look at the weekly chart, there's a lot of wicks up here.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
I'm just saying from a month ago it was a good buy. That's all.
Yeah, that's okay because I've been long since the 140. So I doubled my money on Google already.
I love it. And
right,
hey, Lex,
on, guys.
Yeah, man. We look forward to having you again. Thanks again.
Yeah, please.
That was fun. It was great to have Lex. He and I were chatting Google, and somewhere around here was Stocktoberfest. Yeah, right here. He's like, I don't know if I'd buy it. And I was like, I don't know. I think it's a buy right here. You guys have heard that from me before on Google, haven't you? I think it's a buy right here. So anyway, we got a bunch of names. Stocktwits posted the show earlier and wanted to do some tickers. Hey, we forgot to bring in Ryan. Ryan, do you have a ticker or two that you would like for us to look at for the people who submitted tickers? There's our guy.
Let's see. Joey sent some earlier.
Hi, Joey.
Tell me if you've been over these already. Did you look at Celsius?
We don't. We haven't. We will. Give me one more.
CLS.
Love it. Got him.
Duolingo.
Guys, you have a preference on where we start here?
Can we just remove Duolingo because there's no reason?
Yeah.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Duolingo. There you go. That doesn't look great.
No.
What's the pandemic high in Duolingo, or did it put IPO after?
I'm sorry, GP. I didn't hear you.
What was the pandemic lows in Duolingo? It IPO'd after.
It did not exist.
Okay.
Yeah, shut that.
I think your line in the sand was like 258. Now you're below the 50 week or the 200 week. Whew. I mean, that doesn't mean that it can't catch a bid somewhere down here, but I mean, I would just be guessing at where to start a position if I were so interested in. Just like strength begets strength, weakness begets weakness. I'm not saying to short. I'm not saying to take a long position. I'm just saying this is too hard for me, and I avoid it. Nick?
Yeah, it's not my kind of trade. On a whole nother thing, like, dude, if they're coming out with like glasses and headphones that like translate shit in real fucking time. Why, like, why buy? I mean, yeah, I understand, like, wanting to learn another language, and that's,
I hear you.
good for the brain, but I don't know. It doesn't.
Technology for the win.
Yeah, right.
GP, you have anything to say about Duo, or we're moving on?
It's a terrible monthly, it's a terrible weekly, it's a terrible daily. None of this stuff is a reason you should get long. Wait for it to find a level and buyers. There's no reason to rush into this now. But this goes back to every conversation we've had about this. These things, these technical breaks, these monster beatdowns don't resolve overnight. You got to have time frames in this, right? You got to have years before this stuff resolves, especially on newer IPOs.
Celestica, CLS. I've never even heard of this name. It's a technology company, electronic components. It has been nothing but up. I mean, this is a wild ass chart. It's a $300 stock, Nick. I know you love expensive stocks.
I do. It's just there's no setup there currently. If you're in it, great.
Congratulations.
Keep on riding. Yeah, whether you trim and trail or just trail. I mean, it continues to put in tight weekly closes perpetually, so you can this thing is kind of getting bought as it trends. Whoever suggested it, caught it, phenomenal trade. It's been on my watch list, and I've just kind of watched it go. Unfortunately,
just doing some live charting right here. I would say that would be my channel right there. So as we're looking at this, and GP, you can hop in whenever you're ready. We've got a nice flat bottom of this channel. We've got resistance. We've got resistance. We've got resistance, which is proving the midline. We've got resistance, and then we've got a breakout, right? And then we've got a failure at that. We've got what we always like to see is, an under over here. And then back up, we have resistance, and now we are at the top of the trend line. I'm not saying short this here, but unless it gets some momentum, which volume looks like it's drying up, I don't know. We might be getting a little toppy, but hey, this has been a wild ass market in some of these tech names, so I'm not guessing. GP?
Yeah, strength begets strength.
It does. Yeah.
Is the thing that I wouldn't buy here, and you've been wrong for about 600%. So
yep, absolutely.
And then if you were wrong before that, you were wrong for another 600%. So you've been wrong for a long time. Strength always begets strength, and things always break down from further breakdowns, right? And so I don't know anything about this, but it's a 30-year base breakout.
Yeah, it's wild. I often like to do this too. We can always divide that, and look there. Look how magical that is, right? Look, you see what I'm seeing, guys? You see how nice that lines up? I love it when a chart comes together so easy. So there's just a live look at some live charting. Love to do it for you. Let's go to
25-year base breakout. And if you're looking for base breakouts that can represent this, by the way, Cisco is one of them. Old tech.
Yeah. God, that looks good.
And the breakout was nice. I mean, if you were able to catch this, if you were in the know, the breakout of that look at there. Look that I mean that's nice. You didn't even get a check back as a retest, right? You got the bump into it, you got the pull down, and then she gone. Super nice chart. Celsius is the next one. Somebody was complaining that they messed up on an earnings report, which to me, red flag. It's not always a red flag. But you know what your earnings reports are, and you need to have your shit put together and squared away. So Celsius, guys, anything here?
As far as catching a falling knife, it sure as hell looks a lot better than something like Duolingo. Where price kind of did find some support was at the rising 30 and 40 week, or like the 200 day. Personally, I fucking hate Celsius. I hate all these energy drinks. And I've admittedly had a pretty bad addiction to Monsters at one point in my life. But I threw the flag in on my bearishness on Celsius back, and I think that was like March, April sometime, where I thought it looked like it kind of bottomed out. But if you're going to catch a falling knife, this is kind of where I think that you would take a stab at it. Again, your risk reward's pretty easily definable. I'd probably be gone under 40, underneath the low of that kind of the high volume bar there. Not my kind of trade and not the stock that I want to own, but yeah, that's my take on Celsius. Although I would say Celsius is bullish for the IBB and the drugs. So, I mean, by all means, keep it on the market and keep people drinking
bullish
it.
Anyway, Nick.
Sure.
It is bullish anyway. This is a classic weakness of the weekly golden cross.
Oh, sure. I see that.
I've talked about this a lot. You tend to get a lot of weakness when golden crosses are about to happen on either daily timeframes or weekly timeframes or monthly timeframes. And that's what allows it to happen, which is essentially a long-term trend shift, right? And so that held the rising 50-week nearly bang on, right? Celsius, or a rising 200-week, sorry. No, so rising 50-week, right? So bang on, you have this ability to get long this and have very little risk now, right? What is it, 10% down from here? Not even. The 50-week is, about 10% down from here. And if this is the weakness into a bullish trend change, technical trend change, then you could have hundreds of percents move higher. You'll see something very similar happen to GE in 2023, 2024. Not that you have to go to the chart, Ben, but I know we have other stuff to talk about. This is, to me, it's a good check back into a bullish trend change.
Yeah, I put this pink line on there just as you got that golden cross right here that you were referencing, GP, and look exactly where price bottomed out, right? Like, I'm not saying it's a coincidence, but it's coincidental. How about that? Moving right along, we got some questions on Pfizer. This is some drug names. They announced over the weekend that they're buying some weight loss drug manufacturer. And GP, we talked about this quite a while ago, and we had somewhere around this 25 mark, something as a kind of our line in the sand for Pfizer. It's just now above it. So does this give you confidence in Pfizer, or are there other names to be fishing in that pond, GP?
If you want to collect dividends, this is the name to be in now. If you're looking at this on a monthly basis, that's a pretty solid monthly candle.
Lots of volume.
Just in terms of price structure too, it tried to break out last month, failed. It tried to break down this month and is now reversing. So if the end of the month we reclaim the prior month's highs or even close to it, this is your start of ascending out of this move. But dude, the technical, this is you got to be able to collect the dividend. So if I was buying, I'd buy Pfizer over UNH because it's a 7% dividend and not a 4% dividend, and the down structure has been in place and now trend shifting on a longer time frame, right? The bases have formed, the stuff like that. So this is where I would be allocating money.
Yeah, I think you stop out on that 50 monthly right there around 25.50. If I were to take a new position, you've got all this underneath it as moving averages down to 24.80. It looks like. So I mean, you could be tempted to ride it down to what 24.20, something like that. But sometimes these things turn into bottomless pits, and that's not my kind of trade. Nick, anything on Pfizer, or you want to move on? We got 2 minutes.
No, both Pfizer and Moderna kind of look the same to me on the weekly. I've got kind of descending wedges drawn on them. It's not uncommon to see a descending wedge kind of pop and break and then revert back to test the lows to kind of build out a double bottom. The descending wedge is symmetrical. You do have 5 waves within the wedge. So if you're just looking at Pfizer, I mean, I'm kind of with you guys. If it can kind of bust above this 25, 26, it's kind of within like that. It's clawing its way back in a huge range. And I think it's got a huge pocket from here to basically back to 45. So you could, I think I don't want to say easily, but I think you could pull a double out of it. Pending drugs and the IBB, XBI, all this shit, remains as strong as it has been.
GP, would you be a buyer of Moderna or Pfizer if you could only choose one?
I'm Moderna. No way.
You would buy Moderna?
Right? No, you said investing, right? Not
you can only buy one.
Definitely Pfizer.
Yeah, because of the
Perfect. All right, guys, we've come to an end of the show. What do you guys say, GP? Hurry.
Just because technically Pfizer is a better buy, which probably means it'll be a slow grower, and Moderna might have a better return. So
it's a slow grower and not a shower. That's great to know, GP. Thank you for that. Last words, GP. Go kick us off.
Gold,
Nicholas.
Yeah, I'm with GP. Gold and gold miners. I think the miners look phenomenal.
Miners look phenomenal. I got a riddle for you. Why did the Scarecrow win an award? Because much like us, he was outstanding in his field. That's our show. We'll see you next Wednesday. Love you. Community Rip live right here on Stocktwits, 2 p.m. Eastern. Later.